Facebook now.
Hey, everybody. Welcome in. We're so excited to hang out with you guys tonight. The wonderful, exciting topic of accounting and taxes.
Yes.
It's going to be fantastic. And we're just trying to get Instagram live right now, too, so that we reach those folks.
All right. Looks like Instagram is rolling.
Hey. So good to have everybody here. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Mix Mercantile. Nifty Nate. Brian.
Hey, Aaron. Are you the Aaron I was talking to today? It's good to have you all in the house. Sweet Caroline 93. Was she on the live on Monday or Tuesday?
I'm not sure what her username was, but yes, because we did have a question from the Nurse Flippers live on Tuesday night, and she's here again tonight to ask more questions. So
awesome. What's up, Aaron? Good to see you, man. All right, cool. Meredith P. Greg Rogers. Welcome.
Thank you guys for hitting the like button. Please keep hitting that. That really helps. I'm trying to open this up here. Guys, we are so excited for tonight. We have a very, very special guest. I would think that many of you have heard of him, if not attended some of his lives or or watched his YouTube videos before. But his name is Mark II. He goes by Not Your Dad's CPA, and I'm going to let him share a little bit more. But he has just served the reseller community for years. He's fantastic, not just because he's a wonderful CPA, but he is very familiar with reseller taxes and bookkeeping and accounting and all of those things. And as you guys know, it can be, challenging if you meet with just, any accountant or CPA, because they don't always know, what resellers need for their taxes. So we're super excited to have him. And why don't we just introduce ourselves really quick? Why don't you?
Yeah, sounds good. So I'm Paul. This is my wife, Faith, and we're the founders of My Reseller Genie, which is a accounting bookkeeping software built specifically for you guys, resellers. I think that's sufficient introduction. Yeah. So we'll bring Mark up on the stage and
we're gonna have him
let you guys meet him. All right. Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark? Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get some more folks in here. Mark, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Mark II is my name, and I have been, working with resellers. I mean, not exclusively, because, everybody's got other stuff going on, or they're married to somebody who has other stuff going on, but I've specialized in helping resellers, for more years than it seems like when you look back. And actually, it's crazy. Like, I think I started really niching down on the reselling space in 2017. And it's still growing like crazy. So I know sometimes people get discouraged, like, they think it's not viable anymore, but it's just always changing and growing. But so I do a lot of taxes, some bookkeeping, a lot of consulting, but primarily with resellers and also content creators. But it's what I do.
That's awesome.
So before we get to questions, I got to ask something that I've been wondering about. So like on your site, there's your logo has a skateboard in it, and I see skateboarding on your site. So is there some background there? Are you a skateboarder?
Yeah, I grew up skateboarding. Usually I have a board somewhere in this room, but my kids bring it in and out. And I just never wanted to be like, I never wanted to wear a suit to work or like be all formal and stuff. I like to be a little more informal, more approachable. And, so far I think there's a large segment of people who resonate with that.
Yeah. Especially with an accountant. I think people have a lot of preconceptions about what it's like talking to an accountant. So it's awesome that you can have that laid back persona.
Yes, for sure. I have a question for you, Mark, and then we will just start to dive right in. But what was there a moment in time that you remember? Maybe you met a reseller, or like basically how did you get into helping resellers with their accounting and taxes? Like, was it somebody that you met? Were you reselling at the time? But like, what exactly happened?
Yeah, I'll have to go back and find like the exact sequence of events, but like in 2015, I started, that's when I started doing taxes on the side, because I was a CPA, but I'd never done taxes. And I'd never done it on my own. And I thought, I might as well try it. And about the same time, I got into the personal finance blogging space. So I had a blog for a couple years, and I met a bunch of people through that. And one of some of the people who I had met through my blogging recommended me to someone else who had been asking them for a referral. Anyway, I helped these other people who were referred to me, and then they came back to me and they said, "Hey, we have a podcast about selling on eBay. We've got about 10,000 listeners. Would you want to come on and answer a bunch of questions?" And I was like, okay. Like, I hadn't even thought about eBay for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. I didn't even know it was like still a thing. But anyway, I got a few clients out of that. And then some of those people were, YouTubers and stuff. And I didn't even have any idea about that. And I started getting more clients. And then eventually I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to say this is what I do now. So that's how it started.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. That's very cool. I didn't know that. And I was thinking about, you coming on today, and I was like, I don't think I've ever heard, the answer to that question. So thank you for answering. I appreciate that. Guys, thank you again so much for joining us. The way that tonight's going to go is that we are going to hear a couple of just general tax what would you say, tax tips, just kind of like things that you should be doing from Mark. And then we're going to open up the floor for questions. So feel free to drop them in the chat now if you want to. And then we're going to go back and answer those in order. But we did have a few folks who wrote questions in advance. So we're going to hit those up first. And we also have giveaways. And Mark has been very, very generous, and he has a special giveaway tonight as well. So we will get to those. But Mark, can you just take it away and share a couple of tax things with us?
Yeah. So, there's a few.
Your screen.
What's that?
Do we need to do a screen share, or are you okay?
We don't have to. I could. It's up to you.
What would you like?
Yeah, let's do it. If you have it queued
set
up,
Mark. If not, it's totally fine.
Oh yeah, just give me a second. I have it right here.
We like visuals.
Present. All right, share screen. All right, let's see if this works.
awesome.
Yeah, so this is just a portion of a presentation I've given before, but people always ask me what is the most important thing I need to be doing right now for my reselling business. And usually the thing that I'll recommend is just to get a separate bank account before anything else. And you're most likely going to be a sole proprietor if you're just starting out. That's what you are by default. You don't have to go out and register with anyone. That's just what the IRS considers you to be. So just to make it easy on yourself, get a separate account. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a business account with an employer identification number or anything like that. Just get a separate personal account if you want to do the simplest thing, and then just make sure that's what you conduct your business through. That's what you'll want to link up to eBay or Amazon or Poshmark or wherever you sell, and that's where you'll want to link your credit cards to and all that stuff. Just so at the end of the year, at a minimum, to do your taxes, you'll have all that information there in that account, and you won't have the headache of trying to go back and divide everything out of your personal account, because that can be a really frustrating experience, and it's going to increase the chances of something going wrong, or just either underestimating your taxes or overestimating your taxes, which both are bad. You're either going to lose money, or you're going to be on the IRS's radar. But yeah, it's just good to have all that info separate. And then, that's at a minimum, but then ideally you'll layer on top of that some type of tracking system. Whether that's a spreadsheet to some kind of bookkeeping program, which obviously Paul and Faith are going to talk to you about theirs tonight. I didn't update this system. I have a screenshot of QuickBooks on here. But I will say that QuickBooks is overkill for a lot of people who are starting out, and it's not necessarily tailored to resellers. But My Reseller Genie, obviously, it is, because they have integrations with those platforms and stuff. But yeah, so having a separate bank account, layering on some type of bookkeeping system is ideal. And then for inventory, that's always where a lot of the questions come up for resellers, because there's just, that's the main thing we're dealing with. That's the main deduction that you'll have as a reseller. So there's questions like, how do I deduct my personal stuff that I sell, or how do I deduct, or when do I claim the deduction? Is it when I purchase the inventory? Is it when I sell the inventory? And unfortunately, the answer to most of that is it depends. So like with the deduction for inventory is called cost of goods sold. That's what it's called on the tax form. So historically, the requirement was to deduct your inventory only when you sold it. But a few years ago, they introduced some flexibility into the rules, which allows a simpler option, which is that you can now deduct it immediately when you purchase it. So then you don't have to worry about keeping as much track of the different costs of all the different items that you sell. But there are pros and cons of each method, and we can talk more about those. Let's see here. So number 4, I would say just make sure you establish some kind of routine with regards to your records and your books and your numbers and all that stuff. It could be annually. That's what a lot of people do. They just scramble and throw everything together at the end of the year. I don't recommend that method, just because I feel like you're missing out on a lot of insights that you could be benefiting from all throughout the year. And that's one of the main things I like to try and communicate, is that the bookkeeping isn't just so you can do your taxes. It's for your own benefit, so you can know what decisions you have to make as a business owner, so you can grow your business. So the more up to date your books are, the more relevant decision making will be able to happen. So I would update your books at a minimum monthly. But weekly is good too. Yeah. And then, just along with that, reviewing your numbers. That'll be a part of your routine. So if you update your books every week or every month, you want to take a look and say, oh, how does this compare to last month? Or how does this compare to last year? Or what are the different trends that are happening in my business? There's a lot of different types of analysis and review you can do, and it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It can be as simple as, okay, did my sales go up or did my sales go down? And then look at your cost of goods sold, some of your deductions, and just go from there. So I think I'll leave it there. And oh, look, there's you guys.
There we are.
Perfect.
With those genie bags. That's awesome. Mark, thank you so much. That's super helpful. Guys, definitely watch the replay of this if you weren't taking notes on that, because all 5 of those things are really, really important. Mark, I just want to dive right in, and I hope that you don't hate me for asking you this question, but can you explain the difference between cash inventory and accrual inventory? Because we get that question asked a lot. It confuses so many people. So let's start there.
Yeah. So if you look at your tax form, most of the people listening will enter their income and expenses from their business on what's called a Schedule C, and that's just a separate schedule of your personal tax form. And on that Schedule C is a little checkbox that says, do you use cash or accrual? And the confusion is that checkbox, it's not talking about inventory specifically. It's actually excludes inventory. It's asking you, what's the overall method of accounting you use for your business? And most small business owners are going to check cash, or should check cash, because we record sales, or we count our sales when we actually receive the funds, and we record expenses when we actually spend the cash. Because I mean, that's an old form. And if on the second page, there's a whole separate section for inventory, and built into that section, the accrual method is built into that section for inventory. So if you want, which means that you're deducting inventory when you sell it. But they introduced the cash method for inventory more recently. So if you want to use that method, you kind of have to use a workaround. And all that means is you're putting 0 in for your beginning and ending inventory on the form. So you're basically just forcing it to record your purchases for that year as the deduction. I might be saying way too much. So basically the cash method for inventory is deducting your inventory immediately when you purchase it. And the accrual method for inventory is only deducting it when you sell it. So that takes a little bit more tracking.
Gotcha. Okay. No,
and people can replay this.
Yes. No,
if they
no.
really want to.
That's good.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Whenever I talk about that topic, I feel like I can quickly get into just
a lot of
making no
details.
sense. So
That was fantastic.
Yeah,
Mark.
I thought you did a good
much.
job.
Very succinct. Okay, so question, and actually, you know what, Mark, I'm going to give you a little break because you've been talking for a little bit here. Paul, this is a question for you. Guys, we are answering questions about how to use the My Reseller Genie software too. And at some point, actually, do you want to do a small demo, or will you just be kind of sharing a couple things here and there, maybe?
Yeah, we'll just share things here and there.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Valerie is asking, she's saying, I'm a reseller who does not always carry my business debit and credit cards with me. Also, depending upon where I do my sourcing, I sometimes use a prepaid debit card tied to my personal bank account and keep a small balance, usually $200 to $400 on it to present at garage sales, estate sales, and some online purchases. My question is, how do I record these business expenses paid for with personal funds in My Reseller Genie? Should I mark them as shareholder loans, or can I set them up as owner investments drawings? Please note I'm doing business as an S corp.
Okay.
That was loaded, but Valerie, we're going to answer that for you.
Yeah. All right. Let me share my screen so you can follow along with what I'm saying. So the first thing I'm going to say is that currently My Reseller Genie doesn't have owner's equity as a supported transaction type. Now, what you can do for these expenses is when you're recording the expense, you can put in a bank account and you can customize this to say like owner's equity, and then maybe if it's a Visa, like Visa 4343. And so that way you have like a record of these transactions and you can tie it back to its source. But it's a little bit different than the way you would do it in like a normal accounting system. So as an S corp, you need a balance sheet when you're filling out your tax forms. So that's going to be something that you would have to like kind of manually compile the way Genie's set up right now. But hopefully I think that answers your question. And if you have any follow-ups, feel free to either drop it in the chat or reach out to us. Support at myresellergenie.com.
Perfect. And then Paul, one more for you because I want to finish answering Val's questions because she wrote it. Guys, for any of you who are just joining us, we are answering questions. You can drop them in the chat, but we're going to answer them in the order that they came from. So I'm going to have Paul answer one more question, then we're going to do a giveaway, and then Mark, we're going to get back to you with some more questions for you. Okay, Valerie says, I rent spaces at an antique mall with my paying rent for the spaces and giving a 10% commission on all sales to compensate the mall for handling the sales. Any money left over after the mall takes the rent and 10% commission are automatically deposited in my account. Sometimes I don't make enough to cover rent and commission, thereby making it necessary for me to go in and make a payment. How do I record these transactions in My Reseller Genie? Should I record the total sales first, then deduct rent and commission as an expense? Or should I only record the amount received as sales?
Okay. So Mark, I'm actually interested to get your input on this. What I would say is I would talk to that antique mall about how they handle 1099Ks. I think potentially they might issue you a 1099K for the total revenue collected, but I'm actually not positive if if they would fall under the under the category of needing to issue one of those. So if they are reporting gross revenue on a 1099K, then you would want to record your sales separately from the expenses. But if it's only if they're only looking at the net amount, then you could just record that and not have expenses and sales broken out separately. Mark, I'd be interested to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I was just trying to reread the question.
Can you find it there, Mark, on the document? I can tag you.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. So rent the space in the antique mall, paying rent for the spaces and giving a 10% commission. So just how to record that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, just what you're saying, like there's a couple different ways to do it. Like the technically correct way would be to break out everything that's happening in the transaction. So you just deduct the full amount of rent as rent expense. And then, oh yeah, then the 10% of commission as like a
transaction or something like that.
Yeah, I guess it's two separate transactions. So you have the rent expense, then you have the 10% of commission. I mean, if it's, I don't know if they're paying it monthly or whatever, but that would just be recorded as a separate commission. Any money left over after the mall takes the rent. I guess I don't totally understand it.
Yeah, so I think what she's saying is like if she has to, let me see it again.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fixed cost for the rent and then a percentage for the commission. So if her rent's $500 and she sells $400, then she's not going to have any sort of a payout. So I think she's wondering, okay, do I record $400 in sales, $500 in rent, or do I just record sales whenever they pay me money?
Do you want Valerie, if she's here, do you want her to confirm that in the chat, if that's what she means, or you're pretty certain that that's what she means?
I'm pretty sure that's what she means.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, should we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you can get the detail from them, it's ideal to record all the transactions separately because, like Mark was saying earlier, part of bookkeeping is giving you insights into your business. So if you're losing money by being at this antique mall, you might want to get out of it.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yep, that's a good point.
Very true. Mark, since you're already looking at the same page that I am, there's a question from Judith. Judith wrote in earlier. She said, I'm single, I'm retired, 68 years old on Social Security. I started selling only items I've collected over the last 50 years, plus a few inherited items. I asked Reseller Genie during the Nurse Flippers live show this week, and I was told it was a gray area. My Social Security benefits are under $10,000 yearly. I'm considered low income, but I own property in addition to my dwelling, so not on DSHS. I've stopped at 2 local tax preparation businesses locally, asked pertinent questions. I can tell they have no clue. Is she going to get to her question? Started selling only on eBay in February. eBay reported 1099 has my sales at $5,200 for 2024. So after labels and expenses, probably gross 50% of that at most. Plus I have deductions. I did not pay when buying at garage sales what these items sold for. Any help would be appreciated. Do you remember what her question was?
Yeah, so what her question is she's paying or she's selling things that are personal items. And so she's wondering how to account for that.
And we basically, in a roundabout way, said that it was a gray area kind of. Right?
Yeah, so I said, depending on like if you have a reselling business or if it's just purely personal, that'll impact how you might want to report that on your taxes.
Yes. So Mark, we want to hear from the CPA. What's your answer?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a lot of gray areas or areas that could have more than one answer, that the IRS would be okay with as long as you have support or some kind of method to back it up. And I mean, one of the most common questions around selling your own stuff is what's the deduction that you get for those items? And the general rule of thumb is that those items, or the deduction for those items, will be the lower of your cost or the market value. So the problem with that is, like, how do you determine the market value? Because there's a whole range of data points that it could be, or that you could potentially justify. And then for the original cost, she said, some of that stuff is over 50 years old. So she probably still doesn't have the receipt for that stuff and may or may not remember what it cost. So you're probably going to have to estimate the original cost and then compare that to your best estimate of what the market value is. And then you take the one that's lower. So then whatever you sell it for, you'll just deduct that cost that you established, and that'll be your profit for that item. But yeah, so I wouldn't stress about the ambiguity there, not having clear-cut answers, because that's just a normal, typical problem that most resellers will face. And I've got a YouTube video specifically about that, the personal items, and how to do that in a little more detail.
Yeah, and we love that video. Mark, if you want, I can, once you're answering the next question, I can actually try to find that video and just post the link in the chat, because we've watched that several times and it's very helpful. So, and speaking of being stress-free, Mark, just here's a general question for you, because, we have several people in here, and I'm sure that there's at least one person who's freaking out listening and hearing all these terms and just getting a little bit overwhelmed. What would you say to a reseller who's completely just freaked out and clueless over how to start accounting for their business? And I know you kind of gave us those 5 things, at the beginning. If you guys are just joining us, I'd suggest going back and watching the replay. But yeah, for somebody who's really stressed out, Mark, what would you tell them?
Yeah, it's not. Oh, hang on, I gotta take a drink.
Yep, you're good.
So I'm getting over a cold, so I apologize, everybody.
No worries.
Yeah, it's usually not as, like, the situation is not as dire as you think. I mean, I talk to so many people, and like, a really common thing that I'm told is like, oh, I bet I'm your worst case, huh? Or I bet my stuff is more messy than other people you'll deal with. And it's really not. Like, if you think your books are a mess or your business situation is a mess, you are in good company, because most people don't have it together. So maybe that'll make you feel better.
That's good.
But yeah, you just have to start with the baby steps. And you usually just sometimes people will tell me, like, oh, I think I need to book 2 consultation sessions in a row. But then we'll finish it in like half the time, and they'll say, oh, that was easier than I thought. So just trust me when I say it's probably not as bad as you think. And if you just take the baby steps, one thing at a time, starting with some of those steps I already talked about, getting a separate bank account, starting a basic bookkeeping system, it's not going to be that bad. And my last tip for that would just be, I just told somebody yesterday, and you can do this. Like, they wanted to go back and put all of a few prior years, so books and history that's in the past, they wanted to go put that all in a bookkeeping system. And I said, just do your best to put together like a simple summary of your income and expenses for the past year. And then going forward, let's focus more on the future, or at least starting 2025, and we'll get that stuff squared away. And then you'll have a better system going forward. So it's kind of like just ripping off the Band-Aid, like just looking back, do what you can with the past, but going forward, do better.
Awesome. That's super helpful. Thank you. Yeah, everybody here is in very good company. And I'll just do a quick side note, guys. My first season, or I'm sorry, my first tax season as a reseller was an absolute nightmare. Some of you guys have heard me share this story, but I was not only was I not tracking anything, I didn't even know where to start. And it was really, really stressful for me. And my husband's an accountant. So it was really hard. There was a lot of headaches, a lot of tears. and my husband, he did help me out a little bit. But what I realized is that you just have to start somewhere, just make sure that you're saving your receipts, that you're tracking your numbers. Obviously, our software can help you with that. But even, for some of you guys, maybe that doesn't make much sense. Maybe you have a spreadsheet or something else that you're using. But just starting somewhere is the most important thing, because many people, they just think, oh, I'll put it off until January 1st, or I'll put it off until, so-and-so time. And that's like, yeah, that's just going to hurt you in the long run. So yeah, it is very doable. And once you start tracking, you're going to realize that, oh my goodness, I see all of this helpful information with my business. I'm understanding my business for the first time. And it's really empowering, guys. And I can just tell you that from personal experience. As I'm talking, I'm realizing that I said that we were going to do a giveaway, and I totally forgot about that. So let's do a giveaway, and then we're going to get back to your guys' questions. All right, should we do a bag? I think we should do a bag.
Yeah, let's do it.
People love our bags. Okay, guys, we're going to be giving away a free My Reseller Genie tote, and you need to drop the word, how about tote? Tote, hashtag tote in the chat. I want to know in the chat how many of you guys have heard of our bags, or maybe some of you guys have a bag. But we are going to be giving one of these away. So go ahead, drop hashtag tote in the chat for your chance to win, and we will ship it to you for free. But they are the IKEA style bags. Everybody loves them. And I'm biased, I know, but I like our design better than IKEA's design. Is that okay to say?
I think it's
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
I don't think IKEA is trying to win design awards with their bags.
Yeah, I don't know. But they did start something,
They did, 100%.
Yeah. All right, awesome. These are coming in. If we had a few more people, I would go ahead and ask another question, but I think that we should draw it soon. Hashtag tote, guys. I'm going to count to 5, then we're going to be done. Oh, my original bag ripped. I'm sorry to hear that, Mick. There is a weight limit, and some people don't realize that. I know I didn't at first, but it's like 30 pounds, I think. So just be careful about that. If you're a current user of Genie, shoot us an email about that. Sorry to hear that. All right, let's go ahead and draw it. Let's see who won this. We need music. We really do need music. Mark, I've seen your giveaway thing, and I like yours a whole lot better. There's like a spinning wheel. Denise,
Congrats, Denise. Congratulations.
Go ahead, shoot us an email at support@myresellergenie.com, and we will go ahead and ship that out to you. Congrats. It's awesome. All right, guys, we have more giveaways, but we're going to get back to questions here. We have a few more that were written in earlier, and Paul, this one's for you. This is a question from Brian. How do you keep track of the income each month when Amazon pays several times a month? The money paid may reflect prior months. Does your software help to keep track of that?
So, yeah. So when you get a payment from Amazon, that's going to be the net of sales and expenses, right? So they charge you certain fees for making sales and being on their platform. And then there's revenue that comes from your sales. So if you are recording your sales and your expenses, that will take care of the accounting for those payments. As far as Genie, we currently don't have an Amazon integration. So like with certain platforms, we have, just a couple clicks, you get connected, and then it pulls all the data in automatically. So while we don't have the integration, you can do it either by manually inputting those sales, or you can upload spreadsheets. So depending on your comfort level, that may, I guess comfort level with spreadsheets and familiarity with Amazon, that may or may not sound like a non-starter, but that's the current answer. They're on our list to integrate with.
Yes. Yeah. One more for you, Paul, and then Mark, we got one for you. So Sandy says, where does owner's equity show up in My Reseller Genie, or how do we categorize it within? Wait, did I already ask you this one?
You asked something kind of related.
It was similar to that. Okay.
Yeah. So currently Genie doesn't track owner's equity. That is another thing that is on our list, and it's good to hear people are interested in having that added, because there's certain things that I want to add as an accountant, but I don't necessarily know if it'll bring value. So
yeah, we really do prioritize like what the majority of our customers are asking for as far as new feature adds. So if you guys want something, shoot us a message. We don't just ignore it. We always add it to our list. So thank you guys. All right, let's go to the questions in the chat. And let's put those up on the screen. Okay, so Mildlin says, when they say you have to show your business making money within 3 years of being in business, does that mean before the deductions or after? Mark.
It means after. So they're looking at your net profit that you're ultimately taxed on. And I mean, you don't have to show that you're making money after 3 years. There's just it's kind of an obscure rule that gets more attention than it deserves, because I don't think I've never seen it enforced, and I don't know anybody who's ever seen it enforced. But there's a rule that says if you have a loss 3 out of the last 5 years, that the IRS can basically reclassify your business status to a hobby, which means that you would have a lot of your deductions that you've taken disallowed. But I mean, you can claim a loss for 10 years in a row as long as you can show that you're a legitimate business. And things you can do to show that you're a legitimate business are like having a separate business account, be doing your bookkeeping. You know, if you have My Reseller Genie, you can be like, look, I'm doing the books because I'm a business. I'm in this for the intent to try and generate a profit. So it's not that big of a risk or something to really worry about. Sometimes people say, oh, I don't want to claim that because I don't want to show a loss. But if you really are a business and you did really have a loss, then I think you definitely want to claim it, because that's going to only offset other income on your tax return to reduce your tax.
Nice.
That's good. Thank you. All right. DJ Holcomb says, does My Reseller Genie let you switch your inventory accrual method? How does that work? I feel like both of you guys are going to want to answer this.
Yeah, so it's yes and no. In Genie, because inventory is just kind of, I think, one of the most important questions in how you account for your business as a reseller. The first part of setting up Genie is telling the system if your cash inventory method or accrual inventory method. And then if you say cash inventory method, we hide the inventory features so that you don't get confused and start doing your books wrong. So can you change it after you initially set it up? Yes, it's just flipping a setting to the other method. But if you've been for years, valuing your inventory one way, and then you want to switch to valuing it another way, there's going to be more work involved than just doing the switch in Genie. And for that, I would recommend working with an accountant, not just for like advice on, is this a good idea for my business, but also making sure that you get all of your I's dotted and your T's crossed.
And Mark, let me just ask you, and I know you sort of like kind of hinted at this, but Mark, if somebody wants to switch inventory methods, so, go from cash to accrual or accrual to cash, what would you recommend?
I mean, yeah, there's like, at worst case scenario, you could do some kind of manual entry to sort of adjust for that change, even within your software, I'm pretty sure. Like if you switch from accrual to cash, that's pretty easy, because all you do is just put your ending inventory at 0. So like, even if you have $5,000 of inventory at the end of the year, if you put a 0 as ending inventory, it's going to just automatically deduct what you actually do have. I don't know if that makes sense, but what I'm trying to say is it's pretty simple. And if you go from accrual to cash, you basically just have to, did I say that right?
Are you
No, I already said that. I think if you go from cash to accrual, that means you already deducted some stuff that you still have on hand that you shouldn't have deducted. So you can just basically, I don't know, you can include that amount as income. For one, my brain's a little foggy because I'm a little sickish, but for this one also, there's a handful of ways you can do it. Ultimately, you don't want to double count any deductions, and you don't want to miss any deductions. So there's like an adjustment that you'll do during that year of change. And if you're curious about it, just shoot me an email.
Yeah. No, for sure. And Mark, quick question: are you taking any new clients right now? You're smack dab in the middle of tax season, so are you taking anybody new or no?
Yeah, I'm still taking people. I'm not doing any consultations, but if people want to get on my tax sign up list, I'm still taking people.
Gotcha. Okay. And if they need more information about that, can we just send them to the services section on your website and they can reach out to you there?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, Evie, if you could go ahead and drop that link again, that would be great. Yeah, guys, but Mark offers a lot of different things and just has a lot of helpful resources for folks. So definitely check out that website link. Okay. What is the penalty if you don't pay quarterly taxes?
Oh, what are they? So the penalties for late quarterly taxes, I'm trying to remember. I think it's 0.5% of the unpaid tax per month. So it all depends on how much tax you're going to owe at the end of the year. And that's what they calculate the penalty off of. So for a lot of people, they're not that significant, but it all depends. It all depends on how much you're going to owe. And
Gotcha.
one fun fact is that the penalties for late filing of your tax return are more severe than the penalties for late payment.
Nice.
That's helpful to know.
So 0.5%.
Yep.
Gotcha. Hey, Bear Kitty's here. Hey, how's it going, Tim? Off topic, sort of. Am I reading right that the BOI e-filing requirement due March 25th does not include sole proprietor? I can't talk.
Yeah, it's just LLCs. Well, maybe corporations, but most of you are not going to have corporations. So yeah, it's LLCs. So this is a filing that went into effect 2024, I guess. But then like the courts were fighting it, or certain, I don't know, it was like they put it on hold and then it was back on, then they put it on hold, then it was back on. And but then just yesterday, FinCEN, so the Financial Something Crimes Enforcement Network, I don't remember what it stands for. It's basically the sibling of the IRS under the Department of the Treasury. They came out, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like accountants are just like, I don't even try and tell my clients what's going on with this anymore.
Oh man.
But FinCEN said, okay, we're not going to enforce any penalties for now, and we're going to come up with a new plan soon or something. So basically, it's on hold. Don't worry about it for now.
Hang on to your seats.
Good to know.
All right, let's do another question, and then we're going to do another giveaway. All right, Jennifer says, I started my taxes and deducting some of my rent for the 30 square foot closet that I use to store my inventory. Am I going to get pinged for not having a business license if I share my address?
Nope. Yeah, I would say most resellers who are working out of their homes don't have business licenses.
Great.
And some, I don't know, some states might want you to, but I wouldn't go out and do it until they make you. Sometimes if you form an LLC, then you'll be on their radar, and then they'll send you a letter that says, hey, you should have a business license. But even that I don't see very often. I think I saw that with, I want to say either Washington. It was probably Washington. But yeah, no, you don't need one.
Okay. We love those simple answers. That's great. All right, let's do a giveaway. Mark, can we do one of yours actually? Let me
let's do it.
Yeah.
So
all right. Yeah, go ahead and share what it is if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's just I have a membership called Financial Insiders, and it's just you get access to our private Facebook group where I can answer your questions. Then we do a monthly live and review relevant topics and have Q&A, and then we do like a monthly thing where you can leave your question, and then I'll post a video response. So
that's awesome. Okay. And that sounds like a lot of work for you, Mark. So this is a fantastic giveaway, guys. Enter in hashtag guru. I like that in the chat for your chance to win a year-long subscription to that. As that's fantastic. It's very generous. Thank you, Mark. All right. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Hashtag guru for your chance to win.
Tim can build a house without permits.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we can build a house here without permits. I don't think a home office is going to matter.
Tim, you are always making us laugh. Thank you for joining us tonight. Oh, goodness. This is great, guys. These responses are coming in. All right. 5 more seconds. Hashtag guru for your chance to win. And Mark, what do you want folks to do? Should they shoot you an email to get access to that, or do you want them to message us?
Either way, yeah, you can just shoot me an email.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Who's going to win?
Greg Rogers.
Congratulations. Mark, your email. Which one do you want to see?
Mark at, I can put it in the chat. It's just Mark at Not Your Dad's CPA.
Okay. I forgot to give Evie that one. So thank you so much for doing that. That's great. All right, guys, we are going to have some more giveaways, but let's get back to the questions in the chat. Okay.
All right, we're on this one.
Is this Valerie? I think this is Valerie. Can you talk a little about sales tax on inventory? What is the benefit of registering to be tax exempt?
Yeah, so if you pay tax on the purchase of your inventory, that just becomes part of the overall cost that you can deduct. So it just becomes part of your cost of goods sold. So if you, but really as a reseller, you shouldn't have to pay sales tax. Sales tax is something that's supposed to be paid by the end consumer. So like in a perfect world, you wouldn't have to pay sales tax on the purchase of your inventory. You can't always do that with retailers that you purchase from, or it might be hit or miss. Like if you're buying from Goodwill or from Walmart, they may or may not honor that. If you do work with certain vendors or wholesalers, to be able to to be able to not have to pay sales tax. Hang on. So to not have to pay a sales tax on the purchase of your inventory, you first have to register for a sales tax permit with your is it your state, maybe your state or county, and then you'll get a sales tax ID that you will put on a sales tax, put on a reseller certificate. And that reseller certificate is what you give to your vendor, and they keep that on file, and then they have a record showing that they don't have to charge you sales tax. So there's a few parts to it, but yeah, the benefit is that's more cash you get to keep in your pocket.
Yeah.
Gotta love that.
Yes. Okay. DJ Holcomb says, oh wait, is this?
So he was the one who was asking about switching from cash to accrual or accrual to cash.
Okay.
Inventory method.
Okay. So we can just skip over that. Or do you want to address that again?
Well, I think he's going into depth a little bit more. So he's saying if you had 20K in inventory and 20K in business expenses, which grants you a higher overall deduction. So, I mean, if you're using the accrual inventory method, then you're only writing off the inventory that sells. If you're using the cash inventory method, you're writing off what you purchased. So I'm not sure where the other 20K in business expenses factors into this question, but I'm sorry, this isn't a helpful answer.
No, you're good. Mark, is there anything that you want to add to that?
No, I think there needs to be a little more context with the question to provide
okay.
a helpful answer.
Okay.
Sorry, DJ. We got another one from DJ though.
Okay. Which category of items related to running your business gives you the largest tax advantage?
Interesting.
That is interesting. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd say it's just a combination of things. But I mean, inventory is your potentially biggest deduction. So if I had to pick one, I would probably say how you're managing your inventory. What category of items?
Yeah, I'm assuming they mean like, yeah.
Yeah, maybe like expense type.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right. So softball for Jeannie. Are you going to be having a whatnot integration? It's such a pain. So yes, we do want to add a whatnot integration.
Yes, we really do.
Yeah, and they actually recently, I think in January, they released some statements, monthly statements, which is great because reporting's been kind of one of those things and whatnot that has been wanting. So
Yes.
I was happy to see that. Someone sent me one of their statements. I was like, I don't recognize that.
Yeah. All right. Melanie says, I couldn't figure out how to link with Genie, but would like to try again. Is there a for dummies guide? Because I'm sure it's best to have done for taxes as well.
Yeah. So I'm not sure when you last tried this out, Melanie, but we actually added a lot of walkthroughs in the actual app to kind of explain how to use it. So sign up and check out those walkthroughs. We have a lot of resources in our help center, so like written instructions. And you can also reach out to us, support@myresellergenie.com, and we'll get back to you in 24 hours or less. So there's a lot of resources out there to help you, and I think you'll probably be happy with what we have now right in the application.
Yeah, for sure. We made a lot of changes and a lot of adjustments. All right, Nate says, "Hi, Faith and Paul. In MRG, how do we delete an account name in General Ledger dropdown created an error?" Great question, Nate, and we will show you actually.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so hopefully I have some custom General Ledger accounts. Actually, let me say this as I'm doing them. All right, so go to the little gear icon in the upper right. And if you click on that, you can scroll down to General Ledger accounts, and then you just hit that little trash can right there, and it gets rid of the account.
Yeah, guys, if you have not played around on the gear icon there and just looked at everything in there, it's super helpful. Very, very easy and straightforward to just to add certain things. All right, another one from Nate. When we first started, everything imported from eBay was listed as my eBay username, not as the eBay platform. Is there a way to bulk change this? Another Genie question.
Yes, there is.
Mhm.
So on expense detail, inventory, and sales, you'll see there's this bulk edit button. So if you click on that, it'll give you instructions. But basically, you can download your data from Genie and then modify, like this would be the sale platform.
Mm-hmm.
We track a lot of fields. This would be the sale platform. So you'd modify that in the spreadsheet, save it, and then upload it back to Genie, and it would update those values for the records that you changed. Now, one limitation to this is you can only edit about 1,000 at a time. So if you're trying to edit more than 1,000 records, you will get an error message.
Multiple uploads then.
Also, if you haven't really gotten into Genie, you can also just delete the imports from eBay, delete your eBay integration, set it up again with whatever name you want, and then re-import the data. That might be faster depending on where you're at with your books.
Cool. All right, Mark, we are giving you a little break. Another question for Jeannie. What General Ledger account do payments from eBay and Poshmark go to? I started using My Reseller Genie on Wednesday. Congrats, that's awesome. We're so happy to have you. And I don't know how to classify them when categorizing my expenses.
Yeah, so currently the guidance in Genie is to delete these transactions because we don't support those sorts of transactions. This isn't always going to be the case, but for now, anything that's not an expense, you'll just delete out of Genie.
Cool. All right, Mark. David says, I did not track my miles in 2024. How can I get a deduction on miles? Can I say to the tax preparer 50% of use?
I would at least try to like recreate your mileage like what was your total mileage and how many of those were business miles? I mean, it's better than just kind of saying like, oh, just put 50%. Like I would at least say, okay, how many times on average do I drive to the post office or go sourcing? And then add that up and be like, okay, that's, 20 miles per week or whatever. And then you just do the math on that, 20 miles times 52 weeks and say, okay, that was my business mileage. And then you divide that into the total mileage to get the percentage. But I think all you need is just the number of miles. But yeah, an estimate's better than nothing, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And if you guys didn't know this, I mean, if you use Google Maps, you can actually go into, I think it's your history in Google, and they will actually just show you your past trips. And you can kind of, figure out, okay, like how many miles did I drive here and there? Why are you smiling?
I was just horrified when I figured that out.
It's tracking you. But yeah, that could be super helpful.
Yeah, I think it might be something you need to opt into now or something like that. Because
okay, yeah.
I think other people felt the way I did. But yeah, you might be able to get some of that historical data.
Yes. And if you just heard a loud buzzing in the background, let us know. Well, actually, you don't need to let us know. That's our dryer upstairs, and it does not have an off switch to turn off the dryer, so it's extremely loud. And let me just say, guys, with a newborn, it's exciting over here. Whenever we do laundry, it's very exciting. All right, next question. Margaret says, on My Reseller Genie, in the expense tab, when the bank integrations come through from thrifting inventory, do you list that under shops in the dropdown? How do you enter cash purchases at yard sales?
Yeah, so this will depend on how you're tracking your inventory. So if you're using the accrual inventory method, then you're just going to delete inventory purchases from the expense detail because all of your inventory should be entered in the inventory tab. If you're using the cash inventory method, you'll assign it to inventory purchases. And then for cash purchases at yard sales, it's going to follow the same guidance. So if you're tracking inventory, goes in the inventory tab, whatever you paid for it. And if you are using the cash inventory method, it'll go in the expense detail. And when you're recording the expense, there's a field for bank account. You could put cash in that field.
Cool. And with that, how about we give away a free month of My Reseller Genie?
Sounds like a plan.
All right, guys. So we are going to give away a free month of our ultimate plan, which is the highest tier. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with what we do, we created an accounting software. And yeah, why don't you go ahead drop in what hashtag you want to do? Then I will run my mouth when we're doing that. All right, guys. Enter in hashtag ultimate in the chat for your chance to win a free month. This is for if you're a current user, feel free to enter. But new users as well, go ahead and enter that for your chance to win. But in case you guys didn't know, we created an accounting software for resellers where you can track all of your inventory, all of your sales across any and all platforms, and your expenses, get the reports that you need ready for tax time. We also are regularly adding new features. We just added a Schedule C generator at the beginning of this year, which we are super excited about because a lot of you guys were asking about that. So we have that report now. And yeah, we're just super, super excited to just continue helping the reseller community. But, with my background as a reseller and Paul's background as an accountant, we've kind of just baked everything that you guys would need to do your reseller accounting into one place. So hashtag ultimate in the chat. Then we're going to draw a winner. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We do need music.
We do need music. Yeah. Or like Felix, our son, crying in the background. That would be something. Okay, Margaret, congrats.
Congrats, Margaret.
Go ahead, shoot us an email to claim that. If you're a current user, we'll go ahead and just add that coupon to your account. But if you are new, we will go ahead and get you set up. Congrats. That's awesome. All right, next question. And these questions are fantastic, by the way, guys. Yeah, thank you guys for being here. We really, really appreciate it. Colleen says, what is the determination to know if we need to pay quarterly taxes? Is it determined by a value or percentage of sales?
Yeah, the main rule of thumb is if you're going to owe over $1,000 at the end of the year, then the IRS typically wants you to pay it in the form of quarterly estimated taxes. The exception to that is if you've already paid an amount equal to what your tax liability was in the prior year, or if you've already paid 90% of what you're going to owe in the current year. So, I mean, that's the reason that if it's your first year as a reseller or a business owner, typically you're not penalized for not making quarterly estimated payments. But usually in your second year, it'll catch up with you. So you'll want to look at if you're going to owe a lot at the end of the year and how that breaks down in terms of quarterly payments.
Cool. Thank you so much. Guys, I just have to say, this is amazing. Like, we have a CPA on here who's basically giving you guys free tax advice. So thank you. Thank you again, Mark. And we know that you're not feeling well. So
Good.
Okay.
All right. So I think this comment got broken up
This is
into
by
two.
DJ.
So I'm going to put the first one on. We'll read through it and then get to the second one.
Okay.
So this is DJ, I think, providing a little bit more background. So just started a business at the beginning of 2024, invested heavily into preparing to run the business in 2024, both in purchasing stock and getting supplies and equipment. As an example, let's say my overall gross income was 100K, but I spent 50K on inventory and 50K on business expenses. What should I expect to happen in regards to tax liability on the gross income?
Is that it? No, there's more.
I feel like this may not be connected to that.
Yeah,
So
I think
let's
so.
just, we'll
Yeah.
start with that.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be,
Yeah.
but again, it really depends. Like if you spend the 50,000 on inventory, it depends if you're using the cash or accrual method. If you use the cash method, you get to deduct that full 50K. If you're using the accrual method, it all depends on how much inventory you sell. And then the other 50K from the business expenses, like, are those just office supplies? If so, you'll deduct the full 50,000. But if those are the stuff you mentioned in the prior comment, like equipment or, machinery or something, that stuff has to be depreciated over time. But then you can use, there's bonus depreciation where you can deduct the whole thing all at once. So maybe you would be able to deduct that full 50,000 on the business expenses. It just depends what they are. But if it's like a business meal, those are only 50% deductible. So it just depends what those are.
Yeah. All right, David, I did not collect my goodwill receipts. I will pull out from my statements. Should I hand to my tax preparer digital expense or written by hand my receipts?
Okay. So our handwritten receipts or digital receipts, digital expenses. Okay. Sorry. Wow. My brain's all jumbled up now.
Yeah, I mean, they're just going to want, versus digital or like handwritten, they'll want digital. But as far as receipts, I mean, they don't want your receipts at all. They just want like the total number. Like the receipts are for your own documentation, your own support. But yeah, your tax preparer doesn't need it. They just need the total amount spent for any given category.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Mixed mercantile. I sell out of a 1-bedroom apartment. So can I deduct closet space?
Yeah, if you use your closet for inventory storage, then you can deduct, or you can include that square footage as part of your home office deduction.
Nice. All right. So James wants to know, I use accrual method. If I have items that were purchased in 2024 that haven't been listed yet, but will be, does that affect the inventory start/end balance for 2024 in 2025? Any impact to 2025 taxes?
A lot of times you have a lot of inventory that you haven't necessarily listed. So it's still inventory that you've purchased, even if you haven't listed. Like it should still technically be on your books, whether that's a spreadsheet or your software. But does that affect the start in balance? Yeah, so it would affect your starting inventory balance for 2025 because you bought it in 2024.
Yeah, well, we tell people because because our integrations allow you to pull your inventory in, we tell people, okay, if you're going to do that, then what you want to do is before you file your taxes, you want to make sure that all of the stuff you purchased last year gets listed so that you get it pulled into Genie, so that your ending balance is an accurate reflection of your ending inventory balance. And then the next year, that will be your beginning inventory balance. So those two balances should match up.
Yep.
All right. So we got another one, which is two-part. You want to read this, babe?
Sure. DJ says, online sales platforms like eBay collect sales tax on your behalf, but they only collect sales tax from people buying in your own state, I think. I'm in Washington state. So if you're selling online to people out of state, do you have to pay your state sales tax on all out-of-state sales? Is it
that specifically for eBay?
He doesn't specify. He said like eBay.
It's giving
I think it's more general, just across sales platforms.
Yeah, I mean that, like eBay, for example, they collect sales tax for sales in all states that have a sales tax, because they deal with it. But if you sell through a platform that is not required to collect sales tax for you, like if you have your own Shopify store, you are responsible for setting that up, and that's a case in which this would apply. You pretty much only have to collect sales tax on the sales to people in your own state.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, and DJ said yes. So yeah.
Yeah. Fortunately, a lot of platforms take care of that for you.
Yeah.
But that is definitely a good thing to be aware of. Yeah. You want to read David's question?
Yeah. Do accounts know about reselling tax? Because I know CPA knows about this. Do they charge the same for the service?
So I think he's asking, are only CPAs going to be able to help me, or can other accountants help me?
Yeah, it's hit or miss. I get a lot of people come to me who say that they felt like their tax preparer or even CPA didn't really understand reselling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really common to feel like you are having to teach them, and then until a light bulb goes off, they're like, wait a minute, why am I teaching you? Why am I paying you to teach you about how to do this? But then there's a lot of, but it's not that complex. It's just, if people haven't seen it before, they may not be familiar with the different ways to deal with inventory. So it can be helpful to go with someone who, they don't necessarily have to specialize in reselling, but at least someone who has experience with inventory-based businesses like ours.
Yeah. No, that's so good. And guys, if you're just joining us, make sure that you check out Mark's services. Go to his website. He is taking new tax clients. So he's fantastic. Again, he's just helped so many resellers in the community, and he understands this stuff. So would highly recommend him. All right. Kayla says, if you buy inventory but it's damaged, is that a zero for amount, or would you put it in as a loss and report the sale as the amount spent? Does that make sense?
If you buy it but it's damaged, yeah, I mean, you'll record the purchase of that inventory, and then if you get rid of it, you just treat it as if you sold it for $0. So you won't see any income for it, but that will trigger the deduction. So yeah, for that item alone, it's a loss.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. My Reseller Genie is my bookkeeping inventory accrual. On the Schedule C, can I file my taxes cash method using the total COG number as my expense for inventory slash purchases using the accrual for inventory cash for tax?
Yeah, so I think that's basically asking, can I be cash overall, but accrual for inventory?
Which
Is that how you read it, Mark?
I think so. Yeah, and that's pretty common, or at least that's what the IRS historically has expected people to do, or what most people do. Yep.
Cool.
awesome.
All right. We got a question from one of our winners, Denise.
Yes. All right, Denise, can you deduct mileage or plane ticket costs when traveling out of state to visit friends and you end up purchasing inventory for your business? We got this question recently too. It's a good one.
Not in that scenario, but if you flip it, if you travel out of town to purchase inventory and then you happen to go visit your friend, you can deduct it in that case. So it's all about the intent, the overall purpose of the trip, as to whether you could deduct the overall travel to and from that location. But then any local travel that you do, like if you extend your trip a day or two just for business purposes, then you can deduct all of that local travel and local lodging or meals. So you can split it out. So yeah, it just depends on the primary purpose.
Gotcha.
Nice.
All right. How should you categorize items stolen from your booth?
That would just be the same as if you threw it away or got rid of it or donated it. It's pretty much all the same. You just treat it as if you sold it for $0. So you're basically just and this also depends on which inventory method you're using, because if you're using cash method, you already deducted it when you purchased it. So there's nothing you do in that case. If you're using the accrual method for inventory, you deduct it when it gets stolen.
Gotcha.
Or sold.
And hopefully it won't get stolen. That really,
Yeah.
so sorry to hear about that. All right, how about we do another giveaway, guys? These questions are fantastic. Thank you all so much. We're going to give away, Mark is giving away another year subscription to his Financial Insiders membership. So enter hashtag, what do you want to do?
Numbers.
Hashtag numbers, that's good. Hashtag numbers in the chat for your chance to win. May the odds ever be in your favor. Fantastic. And guys, well, yeah. Oh, Cindy's here.
Hey, what's up,
Cindy?
Cindy?
How's it going? So good to see you here. Guys, go ahead, drop that in the chat. And also, I'm just curious, how many of you guys have filed your taxes already this year? Let us know in the chat as well. Is anybody on top of it, or are you guys all waiting to the last minute? Hopefully you are not waiting to the last minute, but we understand. All right, go ahead, drop that in there. Entries are going up.
All right.
Let's
give it 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Seriously, we really need Felix here to, coup or something like that. All right, who's it going to be? Palm LS, congratulations. In order to claim your prize, you're going to go ahead and email Mark, or you can email us. Evie will go ahead and drop those email addresses in the chat. And congrats, you won a free subscription to Mark's Insider Group, which is just filled with lots of really helpful information. So Mark, thank you again so much for adding some incredible giveaways. Cindy says, I see my accountant next week. Haven't filed yet, not on top of it. Come on, guys, come on. Not yet, but the plan is to have it done by the end of next week. Good for you, Mac22. That's fantastic. What other questions do we have? All right.
I think that's it from the chat.
That's it from the chat. Wow, guys. All right.
Yeah, if you guys have questions, put them down there because we might end early.
Yes, that would be something. Mark, I do have a question for you. If you could just throw out what are just some general categories of deductions that resellers can take, because I think it's pretty common that we all know that we can take deductions, but at the end of the day we're probably missing out on a lot of those deductions.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much any expense that you incur as part of the operation of your business is going to be deductible, or at least partially deductible. Um, so yeah, I mean, whatever that stuff is you're buying day to day. So office supplies, like storage supplies, racks and stuff. Your inventory, obviously. Any business meals or meals that you have when you're traveling out of town for business purposes. Advertising, your uh, eBay and Amazon fees, and your store fees and subscriptions. A lot of listing services. Your My Reseller Genie subscription, that's all deductible. A portion of your tax fees that you pay your tax preparer will be deductible.
Nice.
So there's a lot of stuff people don't think of. A portion of your cell phone or your internet that you use for business, mileage. So yeah, it's probably more likely to be deductible than not. So yeah, don't just assume that it's not deductible.
But yeah, that's really, really good. And I know too, guys, like that's something that a CPA like Mark can help you figure out. They are just fantastic at helping you, keep track of all those deductions and not have to pay so much in taxes, which none of us like to pay that money in taxes.
That's the truth.
Yes, it's very true.
I'm just hoping for another year or so where they do 100% deductible business meals.
Oh, yeah. That is good. All right. Oh, I do have one more here, Mark, and then it looks like there's no more questions in the chat, guys. So yes, we might end early, but we do have one more giveaway to do. Okay, but last question here from the document. If our teen helps us, how do we pay the teen?
Yeah, that's a good one. So if they're under 18, then if your kids work for you in your business and they're under 18, they don't have to pay, or they're not subject to payroll tax. So they don't have to pay Social Security or Medicare if they're an employee. So that's a really good way to pay your kids. You get a deduction for it in your business, and most likely they're not going to have to pay tax on it. They don't pay any payroll tax on it, and they likely won't have to pay any income tax on it either, because the amount you're paying them is probably less than the standard deduction. But since they're not having payroll taxes withheld, then you really don't need a W-2. So I would just do a transfer from your business bank account to their bank account and document that internally, and it's as simple as that.
Nice. That's good.
Awesome. We actually had, I think, 4 questions roll in.
Oh, all right.
So, all right. So Jennifer
says, up until now, I have just used H&R Block for filing my taxes, so I can't really wrap my head around paying quarterly. How do I go about doing that? I'm generally a DIYer, so I want to try it myself. Good for you, Jennifer.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. I mean, you'll have to, and I've got a couple of videos out there on this too, but first the hardest part is figuring out how much to pay. But assuming you have an amount that you're going to pay, you can either log into your IRS account. So some people don't even know that you can have an account where you can go in and you can see some of your personal tax information. You can also pay your tax due and your quarterly estimated taxes there. Or you can just go to IRS. The one I usually tell people is irs.gov/payments. You just select the year and select the estimated payment option and do that. It's like a 5-minute process.
Cool.
Nice.
5 minutes is not bad. Mary Lee says, is there anything about the Poshmark integration that we should be aware of? In the same for PayPal? I accept goods and services for items sold via Facebook pages. I'm guessing this is a Genie.
It sounds like a Genie question. It sounds like there might be a question behind like why you're asking about the Poshmark integration. So if there is something specific you have in mind, let me know. I will say, like with the Poshmark integration, we do pull in like canceled refunded sales, which Poshmark doesn't include those on their sales reports, but they do include them on the 1099K. So usually people kind of bang their head against the wall a little bit. So we might be able to help you avoid that process. As far as PayPal, so we are able to integrate with PayPal and they pull into the expenses detail, but we don't have a function right now that like transfers those to sales. So any sales you would need to record separately. We don't have that automated yet.
All right, awesome. Marianne says, since there are 2 CPAs here, and let me just clarify, Paul is actually not a CPA. He has a background in corporate accounting. Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
Very good. Look at that. Look at that. Corporate accounting. Mark is a CPA here and the one who has all the answers. So thank you again, Mark, for being here. Since there are 2 CPAs here, any hints to find a CPA for investment and business advice? We have called over 35 CPAs and none are taking new clients.
That's crazy.
That is
You should go to Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is crazy.
It's kind
That's
of
hard to
sad.
believe.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I feel like I should probably turn people away, but I'm like, I can always squeeze in one more.
That's funny. Yeah.
Call Mark.
Yeah, call Mark. Evie, if you can drop a link to his site in the chat, that would be great. This looks like a question, but I don't see a question mark. There we go.
A few more rolled in. Paul, can you do a walkthrough of the Schedule C generator?
Yeah. But I need to share the right screen. All right. So just background. Mark mentioned this earlier, but the Schedule C is a tax form that a lot of resellers are going to use to put their business income and expenses on. So Genie added a Schedule C generator. So basically taking your data and putting it into a Schedule C. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this. Oh shoot, it looks like I've set things up so that won't give you everything you're looking for. One sec, let me let me log into a different account that I haven't done any work in so that I can show you from the beginning.
And
Okay, good.
Oh, are you good?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, great.
Okay, so when you first run your Schedule C generator, I actually might not have enough data in here to to demo this. I don't think I have any data in here actually.
All right. Well, while you get some data, Mark, I have a question for you. Because we're talking about reports and stuff that we need for taxes. What reports exactly does a reseller need to run for taxes?
I mean, it all depends on what program they're using. There's only like if you, it just depends. Like,
Yeah.
if you're an eBay seller and you don't have any other software, you can run a sales report and that'll give you your eBay sales and your eBay fees, but that's just a piece of what you'll need.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good.
Yeah. I'm going to be working on this for a little while.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Let me see here. Can we, I think there was another question in the chat. Can you?
Yeah, I'll stop sharing this and pull that.
You're good. Can you deduct a portion of car? Oh, I can't see it now.
Sorry.
Can you deduct a portion of car expenses like oil changes, new tires, registration, or is it just mileage as a whole?
That's a good question. Yeah, so you can choose which method you want to use. You can either deduct business mileage or you can deduct the actual expenses, which include the gas, oil changes, maintenance, and stuff like that. But it's just the business portion. So if you use the car 50% for business, then you can deduct 50% of those actual expenses. So you just want to look at which method is going to give you a better long-term benefit and go with that one usually.
Gotcha. Great. Super, super helpful. Thank you so much. All right, can we go back
Yeah.
a sec? All right. Max says, can the purchase of a building, I need to see this screen.
Sorry.
It's okay. Can the purchase of a building or shed be a deduction? We'll be using it solely for business, inventory storage, and photo booth.
Yeah, so you can deduct a building purchase through depreciation. You can't just deduct the whole thing in 1 year. You have to deduct a small portion of it for, over a long period of years. So that's your main option with a building.
Gotcha. Okay. And I'm not going to put this one up on the screen, but DJ actually has another question. I guess hiring your kids to help with business can give a tax advantage if they are underage, but are there benefits to just hiring older family members? And if there are benefits to hiring family members, would it count if they are more like your ex-stepkids but over 18? Smiley face.
Yeah, I don't like just purely tax benefits. I don't think so. Yeah.
Gotcha. And Mark, we have somebody in the chat asking where you're located.
I'm in Utah, but my clients are everywhere. I work mainly remotely.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of resellers think that they need to find a CPA who's in their state, but really, guys, people like Mark, he helps clients from all over the country, so you are good.
Yeah, it's more important what the CPA is specialized in than where they're located.
Yes.
Okay, so this is going to be a little quick and dirty, but just coming back to this. So when you run the Schedule C generator, your first time, what Genie's going to do is it's going to show you mappings. So like we'll suggest certain mappings, but we don't know how you're doing your bookkeeping. So we don't know where on the Schedule C each general ledger account should go. So you're going to look at them and confirm, do I want this going to this part of the form or not? Okay. So we have different lines in the Schedule C that you can select for each of your general ledger accounts. And once you're happy with how those lines are set up, you'll click I approve. Now, if you get this screen, what this means is that you have more than, I think, 9 accounts that are going to the other expenses section. So on this Schedule C, there's only 9 lines. And so you need to group together general ledger accounts so that they fit on the 9 lines. So for example, I can say, all right, purchases, order, advertising, and marketing is all grouped under marketing. And so on and so forth.
Get this. I love click and grab.
So once you've done those groupings, you'll click I approve. And then Genie's going to ask you for a couple different inputs. So if you're doing a home office deduction, you can put that deduction in here. And if you're using the simplified method, you can put in the total square footage of your home and square footage used by your business. If you're not claiming one of those, just minimize it. And then for vehicle use, if you've recorded mileage in Genie, it will pull in your business miles. And you can also put in commuting or other miles driven in the vehicle, what date you placed the vehicle in service for your business. And then these are just other questions that the form asks about. Was the vehicle used for personal use? Do you or your spouse have another vehicle? Do you have evidence to support your deduction? And is it written? So these are all just fields that are required on the form, which aren't tracked somewhere else in Genie. So I'm going to fill that out. And then
Ta-da.
it will create a form which has most of the value is populated. You'll have to put in stuff up here like your business name, social security number, etc. We didn't want to incorporate ingesting that data into Genie. But yeah, all of your income, all of your expenses, and cost of goods sold. Remember, we were talking about that earlier for tracking inventory balances, and then information for your vehicle. So that's how it works. And actually, we can see here that there's an error message. So if you have a problem with your inventory, it'll give you a little notification saying, hey, there's something wrong. Typically, what that means is you have a purchase date, which is after a sale date. So like you sold something in December, and then you said that you purchased it in February of the next year. So that's going to cause a problem with your inventory balances. So that's kind of a quick and dirty overview. If you have more questions on that feature, reach out to me and I'll be happy to answer them.
And on that note, it looks like we got one more quick question. This is going to be our last one. Then we're going to end with the giveaway. All right. Can you go ahead and put that one up? All right. Medlin says, can you track 2 vehicles for mileage? Sometimes I use my husband's truck instead of my car. How do you enter that on the Schedule C?
Let us know, Mark. Our feature doesn't support that right now.
Track. Yeah, you can track. You can have more than one vehicle and track mileage for each. I think the IRS wants you to list each separate vehicle that you do use and then enter the business mileage you use for each of those vehicles. So yeah, there's it depends what program you're using, but like if you're using TurboTax doing it yourself, it'll ask you what the vehicle is. It'll ask you for the business mileage and the total mileage, and then it'll say, do you have another vehicle? Probably, and then you just enter it for the second one. So it's pretty straightforward.
Gotcha. Cool. Oh, we have one more coming.
One more question.
All right. Donna says, if I turn my 3-season sunroom into 4 seasons so I can use solely for eBay selling, can I deduct what that cost me to do? Full amount or partial amount of construction? So many deduction questions.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, so that will play into the home office deduction. And what it does is it increases the basis or like the cost of your home, or it adds to the cost of your home for tax purposes. So basically it's increasing the amount that you can depreciate for purposes of the home office deduction. So you can't deduct the whole investment all in 1 year. You have to basically take that deduction over multiple years. So you'll get a small benefit from it.
Gotcha.
In the short term.
All right, cool. We are going to do this
Sorry,
one.
one more question.
One more question on mileage. Do we need to track starting and ending mileage of each trip, or just total miles would suffice?
It's really just the total miles, total business miles, and your total overall miles for the year.
Gotcha.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
All right,
thank you
guys.
so much, Mark.
Yes, Mark.
Really appreciate you coming on and answering all these questions.
Yes. We have one more giveaway. If you guys can just hang with us real quick. We're going to do that real quick. We are giving away 1 more month of My Reseller Genie Ultimate Plan. And what word should we do? How about hashtag Genie? But hang on, guys. Wait until we start. All right. Hashtag Genie in the chat. Go ahead and start now. Then we're going to draw that, and we are going to say goodnight to you guys. But no, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Mark, again, thank you so much for your time. We know that you are smack dab in the middle of tax season, and I'm sure very, very busy. So thank you for giving us of your time. Guys, if you are interested in more of Mark's services, also, guys, please check out his YouTube channel. He has such a great YouTube channel, just really great instructional videos. And he also goes live as well and helps folks. He has a reseller tax challenge event that he does. Mark, is that every year, or is it just kind of hit or miss? Like some years you do it, some years you don't.
I don't know. We'll see. I've done it the past 2 years.
All right.
And what's going on with courses right now, Mark?
Yes.
Because he does have some classes.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got my Reseller Tax Academy course. And I mean, I don't have a a sale or promotion going on for it right now. But if anybody who's attending this wants to email me, I'll respond and give you a coupon if you want to check it out.
That's very kind. We'd highly recommend that course too, guys. I know a ton of resellers who have taken it, and they only have good things to say, Mark. So that's awesome. All right, and with that, let's draw our winner. Let's see who won. Music, music, music. All right, we better not get it. Mac22, congratulations. Shoot us an email to claim that prize at support@myresellergenie.com. And Evie, if you could drop Mark's email again in the chat, that would be fantastic. Guys, thank you so much. If you did not win a month of Genie, if you're not currently using Genie, we do have a 14-day, well, you explain it, the free trial.
Yeah. Just that 14-day free trial. No credit card necessary. That's for new users or if you haven't used it for a long time. So
yeah, go ahead, give that a go.
Check it out. And we're always available to answer questions. Just reach out to support@myresellergenie.com. Anything else to cover?
I think that's it. Guys, thank you all so much for coming to hang out with us. Mark, again, thank you so much. Have a fantastic night, everybody. We'll see you next time.